Finding art inspiration anywhere can be a total game changer for your creative process. It's like a breath of fresh air that can help you break free from creative blocks and unlock your full potential as an artist. We've all been there, staring at a blank canvas, struggling to come up with new ideas, feeling like we're stuck in a rut. It's frustrating, it's demotivating, and can even lead to burnout. But what if I told you that inspiration is all around us, hiding in plain sight? You just need to know where to look. I think a big part of the problem is that we tend to look for inspiration in the same old places: social media, art books, museums, and don't get me wrong, those are all great sources of inspiration. I'm looking to the right of me and I have a whole library of concept art books for games and film. I have museums by me that I love looking at regularly or going to regularly. But they can also be overwhelming, especially when everyone's work starts to look the same. That's when we start to feel like we need to create something entirely original, something that's never been seen before. And that's just not realistic. And I'm sure those of you listening right now have either heard somebody say this or felt it at some point. Everything that could possibly be thought up has already been thought of already. So what happens when we can't find that spark of inspiration? Well, we get discouraged. We doubt ourselves, and we might even give up. I have many friends in the art world that have given up before, and they're super talented. And it's heartbreaking. And it doesn't help the fact that over the past 4 years, we've had to deal with the pandemic, major layoffs within the tech industry, not just games, but just tech in general. And seeing people give up their passions and their dreams because the industry is just not stable. But I digress. Back to, the creative process. What I want you to know is that it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to feel stuck because the truth is, inspiration is all around us, waiting to be discovered. We need to know where to look. So let's talk about some unconventional sources of inspiration that might just change your creative game. Nature is a great place to start. Take a walk outside. Observe the patterns on a leaf, the colors of the sunset, or the shapes of the clouds. You can find inspiration in the intricate details of the natural world. And I want to make another comment on that. Those of you listening probably know what it feels like to be a freelancer. And this will tie into the whole creative process and what this video is about. But you know what it feels like to be a freelancer. You also know what it feels like to not go outside because you're a freelancer. We don't have the same schedules as a normal 9 to 5 employee. So what happens is we end up working our weekends away. We end up working our evenings away. Okay, and we get burnt out like that. We don't have any inspiration. We feel like what we're creating is the same old, and we get depressed, we get angry, we start blaming the world for us not just going outside and finding more inspiration that way. You can find inspiration in the intricate details of the natural world, as I said before. Another great source is everyday objects. Look at the shapes, textures, and colors of the things you use every day. For example, a scanner, pencil sharpener, microphone, marker holder, even a Post-it stand, your computer monitor, whatever is in front of you. I made a video about, turning everyday objects into creatures, and I'm thinking about doing more of that. But it's not just with creatures, okay? That's my niche, but those of you that like environment design, props, characters, armor, vehicles, weapons, whatever it may be, there's inspiration in so many things if you just go outside and look. Interactions with people can also be a great source of inspiration. You listen to their stories, observe their mannerisms, and pay attention to their lessons. You can find inspiration in the way they live their lives, the way they see the world. For example, I once met an old man who used to be a sailor, and he told me about his travels around the world. His stories inspired me to create a whole series of drawings based on the ocean. Well, of course, I threw in some creatures here and there because why not? But it was cool. I wasn't thinking of the ocean at all, but he started telling me these stories, and he was in his upper 80s, and it was just really cool to hear these stories. I mean, he used to work for the Navy. Like it was really really great. One of my second favorite sources of inspiration is people watching. I love sitting at a coffee shop or a cafe watching people go by, sitting there working, as long as you don't creepily watch them, and making up stories about them in my head. It's a great way to exercise your imagination and come up with new ideas. So, a prime example of that would be around 2009, 2010, all the way to like 2015, that time. I started going to cafes, and there was one in particular. I won't name names out of respect, but there was one I would go to maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I would go in the evenings, so I would go around 7 or 8 p.m. and I would stay till about, I don't know, maybe 9. I would get some food, but the ambiance there was really cool. It was laid back, the lighting was dim, it just had a warm, cozy feeling. And a lot of times we feel inspiration if we feel comfort around us, which is why I always stress that if you're working at home, because a lot of jobs, not just freelancing, but a lot of jobs are remote now. Try your best to separate your bedroom and kitchen from your office if you can. If you have a studio apartment, even if it's just a wall, like a barrier. But like studio apartments, obviously it's a little harder to do that just because it's all one big room. But you can get an office divider or some kind of separator. And what that does is you put yourself in your own environment of doing the best work possible. Keep yourself away from sleep and food when you got to get stuff done. You need both of those things, but it'll prevent you from munching and taking naps and all that. Interactions with people can be a great source of inspiration, which is what I mentioned before. Listen to their stories, observe it, all that. Okay, so another time I was at the beach and I saw a group of kids playing with seaweed. It happens. They were using it as a jump rope, a hat, even a sword. They're kids. They're going to use seaweed as a sword, of course. It was very carefree, very playful. And it made me think about how we can use ordinary things in extraordinary ways. I mean, let's face it, when we're kids, we find the weirdest things to play with. Those parents listening right now, how many times have you spent money on an expensive toy only to find your child playing with like a broken ruler that you've had for 8 years or an empty cup? It's fun to watch, but also it's like, come on, I could have done that. One of the most powerful moments of inspiration I've experienced happened when I was on a road trip with my family. So we stopped at a small diner in the middle of nowhere, and I saw this old truck parked outside and had a bunch of rusty farm equipment in the back. It was like a work of art, sculpture of rural life. It made me think about stories that old truck could tell, places it had been, the people it had met. The moment of inspiration led to a whole series of drawings based on rural landscapes. And it was funny because this truck that I saw, of course I thought of horror movies and being in the middle of nowhere, seeing dilapidated vehicles. But think about how many paintings we've seen where there's rusted vehicles, rusted metal, old buildings. That's kind of fun. Okay, so before I had mentioned that maybe looking at art books and going to museums can be mundane, but I also want to give the flip side to that. I want you to start thinking about art history as an inspirational way to find stuff, or a way to find inspiration about your art. Okay, art history is another rich source of inspiration, filled with masters who have paved the way for us. From the bold brushstrokes of Van Gogh, delicate watercolors of Monet, there's so much to learn and be inspired by. We can learn from their techniques, their styles, and their perspectives, and use that knowledge to inform and improve our own work. Our personal experiences, like I had mentioned before with the truck and going to the beach, they're also a great way of inspiration. Our emotions, our struggles, our triumphs, all of these things can be poured into our art, making it more authentic and relatable. So by tapping into our own experiences, we can create art that resonates with others on a very deep level. Online platforms like social media and art websites are also great resources for finding inspiration. We can follow other artists, see their work, and learn from their experiences. We can connect with them, ask them questions, and learn from their perspectives. And we can share our own work, get feedback, and grow as artists. Pretty simple, right? Easier said than done, I know. Exploring different cultures is another way to find inspiration. By immersing ourselves in a new culture, we can learn about its history, its traditions, and its values. We can see how they express themselves through art, music, dance, and use the knowledge to inform and improve our own work. If you have the means to travel, that's definitely something that we as artists need to do. We need to see the world. We need to experience the other cultures out there. Yes, it is a culture shock, but in the best way possible. We can find inspiration in the world around us, in the small things that we often overlook too. Beautiful sunset. I had mentioned before, the patterns on a leaf, intricate patterns on a rug, a conversation with a stranger. All of these things can inspire us to create something new and unique. So something to realize is that creativity isn't just about you. It's about the world. It's about the people and the experiences that shape us. It's about the connections we make, stories we tell, the nature we observe, video games we play, all the memories we create. It's about finding the beauty in every day and elevating it into an art form. So to sum it all up, finding artistic inspiration is all about tapping into diverse sources, shaking off routine and self-doubt, and seeing the world through a creative lens. It's about being open, about being present, and being willing to take risks. And most importantly, it's about remembering that creativity is accessible to everyone, regardless of skill level or experience. One thing that I want to mention is I hold a creature design workshop through our Discord. Check the links in the description below. You'll see the link for the website to sign up for the workshop. Our Discord is a bustling community with people joining every day, showing their sketches, their doodles, and looking at different inspiration while getting inspired by everybody else's work. We're there to help you in case you're a complete beginner or you're a seasoned veteran. That doesn't matter. And inspiration also is there in the form of a reference forum that we've been building over the past couple months. And the other thing is I run a mentorship. It's a private mentorship if you want to get better about specific things. There's no skill prerequisite in order to jump into the mentorship. You don't already have to be good at something. You can literally be drawing stick figures, and I will help you. Because we go over basics, and if you're more advanced, you're intermediate to advanced, we will gauge the assignments based on what you're comfortable with. Thanks for joining me on this journey of finding artistic inspiration in the most random places. If you have any sources of inspiration that you'd like to share, please leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more creative tips and inspiration, because I love giving them to you all. Thanks again. I'll see you all later. Peace.